Hi dear fans, friends and subscribers, welcome to the late night cricket happening show with your host Ram. Well, dear fans, subscribers, as you know, the other day I had some problems, issues with the YouTube, and I couldn't upload it. I had to upload it 2 to 3 times, and then finally, since I was left with less time to go to office, so well, I had to really wind up by giving you a brief summary. I understand that probably would have been looking out for some reports, as you know. Well, it was a very eventful day on that particular day, and I felt so grieved that I couldn't really bring you the details. As you know, you dear friends and subscribers are the ones who really motivate me to do this show in a great manner and come again and again to you and really dish out my opinion on the match. Now, so what it leaves me here is today what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a real rewind because I know you, dear friends, subscribers, really love my Cricket Happening show, which really endears me more and more to you, dear friends and subscribers. As I always have been saying throughout, you are the wheels of my business. So what I'm going to do is we are going to do a rewind today. I'm going to rewind the whole tape, and I'm going to talk about the 3 matches that were played and what really happened. So let's look at first the 420 international. Now that is the 420 international that we are talking about was the match between South Africa and Australia. It was the fourth one-dayer. It was a must-win match for South Africa to keep their hopes alive, but all their hopes were dashed as Australia went on to win by 3 wickets in the day-night encounter at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and that was and they took the series 3-1. In fact, there's one more to go, which is going to happen tonight, I suppose, which is going to be played at the Sydney Cricket Ground. But as far as this particular match was concerned, well, South Africa were the ones who batted first. They notched up 267 for 8 of 50 overs. So I'm not going to go into much of details, but just tell you what really happened as far as the salient features are concerned. Well, A.B. de Villiers, the captain, played a knock which was a very good knock. He made 91 of 88 balls with 6 fours, and David Miller making 45 of 61 balls, 3 fours. That was as far as South African batting is concerned. Well, the bowling, well, the wickets were shared by Mitchell Starc, Coulter Nile, and so I'm not going to go into that. But let's have a look at the Australian innings. In fact, looking at the score of 267, it was a good pitch to bat on, and the Australian batting, well, they definitely didn't have a good start. But look at what, South Africa had actually reduced Australia to 98 for 5 at one stage and the halfway mark in 25 overs. But the good thing was that Steven Smith was at the crease, and he was joined in at that particular juncture by Matthew Wade. Now, it was a very big task for them because half the side were into the pavilion, and the onus was definitely on Steven Smith and Matthew Wade. And well, they definitely came to the party big time, and especially Steven Smith. As I said, his confidence is absolutely booming right now because he has carved up his second Test century, and what a way he did it. In fact, the other day we saw he played innovative strokes, but today we saw Steven Smith who really bided his time at the crease. He came at as you know, in the previous one-day international, Steven Smith came at a time when things were really looking rosy for Australia, and here he came like a crisis man, and what a knock he played. In fact, first he got the company of Matthew Wade, who collected 52 runs of 59 balls with 4 fours and 1 6, and Steven Smith was the difference between South Africa and Australia as he stood there, but really carved out a neat innings, a second Test century. We definitely saw some innovative strokes coming in, and let me tell you, Steven Smith has already started making a statement, and I think it would be a real shame if one is not going to see Steven Smith be a part of Australia in the World Cup 2015. Such was his play, such was his confidence with which he played, and well, one only one really knows that the experts have been really talking very highly about Steven Smith. He's a real class apart, I would say. Not only that, he's also touted as the future Australian captain, and what a knock he played. He made 104 runs of 112 balls with 7 fours, and then he got some real company, even though Matthew Wade was gone. It was after that Smith was still there. Smith almost took them to victory, but he definitely needed some support, and that support came in the forms of James Faulkner, the all-rounder, who blasted an unbeaten 34 of just 19 deliveries with 6 fours to take the match away from South Africa, and it was all over. Steven Smith getting to his second consecutive one-day century, and Faulkner thrashing 34, and the Australian victory was theirs with Australia winning the match by 3 wickets. Well, the bowling again, I'm not going to get into much of that bowling there, as the wickets were shared. In fact, as you know, one on Philander and Morne Morkel were rested. This is a part of the experimentation that both the teams are doing, and well, it resulted in Australia winning the series. As I said, today we are going to have the final one-day international coming up. It's a mere formality, but for South Africa, at least they would see to it that at least right now, as you know, Australia are leading 3-1, and at the Sydney Cricket Ground, South Africa will be hoping that they could get under the skin of the Australians today. So Australia leading the 5-match series 3-1. Steven Smith of Australia was named man of the match. Now let's shift on to the other match, which was a very, very interesting match between New Zealand and Pakistan. And as I said, it was such an interesting day in Dubai, and as I said, all the results were possible. And well, the New Zealand captain Brendan McCullum, what he did is he really told his wards to go over there and pick up some quick runs, because he was going to apply the declaration. And yes, when the declaration came, when in the first hour after lunch, well, Ross Taylor had actually got to his first ever test century against Pakistan, as he made 104 with 12 boundaries, and Mark Craig gave him admirable company to make 34 with 3 fours and 1 6, and then Tim Southee really enabling Brendan McCullum to go ahead with the declaration at 250 for 9 by thrashing 3 consecutive sixes of the bowling of Zulfikar Babar to make 20 runs, but he definitely fell a victim to Zulfikar Babar. 20 of 13 deliveries, just 5 deliveries with 3 sixes in that knock, 250 for 9. So that really set Pakistan a really reasonable target of 261 runs to win the match. And the bowling architect there for Yasir Shah, for the first time in his test career, collecting a 5-wicket bag, a maiden 5-wicket bag, 21 overs, 1 maiden, 79 runs and 5 wickets. Ably supported by Zulfikar Babar, the left-arm spinner, 27.5 overs, 5 maidens, 96 runs and 4 wickets. And well, so 261 looked a target which Pakistan could definitely chase. But well, they didn't start off on the right note, as Tim Southee first had Tawfiq Umar edging to the wicket-keeper for 4, so he was gone. Azhar Ali contributed 24 runs with 3 boundaries. Shan Masood looked shaky, but definitely as and when he got an opportunity, he used to really go aerial. He 2 sixes and 1 4 in his knock of 40, but he was LBW to the bowling of Trent Boult for 40. Yunis Khan, well, that was the time when Yunis Khan was there, Hope was there for Pakistan. As you know, he was the form man in the crease, and when Misbah-ul-Haq came, but Misbah-ul-Haq, when he went for a duck, when he was really tested by Trent Boult, amazing bowling from Trent Boult. He actually, it was very interesting to see. First he tested Misbah-ul-Haq with a bouncer, and Misbah-ul-Haq visibly shaken, I suppose, and after that he produced a beautiful delivery with Misbah-ul-Haq. In fact, was testing him outside the off stump. Then he produced one which Misbah-ul-Haq actually nicked to the keeper Watling, and he was gone for a duck of 5 deliveries, and that made the score 475 for 4. And when Yunis Khan departed to the bowling of Craig for 44 with 2 fours and 3 sixes, Pakistan were looking a bit of a trouble there at 149 for 5. But the target was still there. Asad Shafiq was there, and Sarfraz Ahmed, the very aggressive player, was there at the crease. But what one saw is that with the bowling that was done by the New Zealanders, where the bowling was pretty tight, the spinners were really on the mark, especially Sodhi was really bowling up to the mark, and he was really causing a lot of trouble, lot of problems for the batsmen in judging him. And as I said, it was last day pitch, so there was turn and bounce available, and Pakistan had to be really wary of it. And well, Pakistan decided that the best thing for them to do is to down the shutters, because probably they had some game plan, but when they saw that Misbah-ul-Haq and Yunis Khan had departed, Pakistan decided that they're going to down the shutters and they're not going to go for the target. And finally the match ended with both the captains agreeing to call off the match 30 minutes before, I suppose. before the schedule closed there on the final day, and just the second test ended in a draw, with Pakistan keeping up the lead of 1-0 with one more test match to come. And 196 for 5 was what Pakistan ended up with. Asad Shafiq was not out on 41 with 6 fours. Sarfraz Ahmed was not out on 24 with 3 fours, and the match ended in a draw. The bowling, well, the New Zealand bowlers, as I said, definitely have to be really credited, because they are the ones who really kept this Pakistan innings on a tight leash and really never allowed them to wriggle out and saw to it that Pakistan were forced to actually go for a draw as they bowled splendidly. Trent bowled 10 overs, 6 maidens, 12 runs and 2 wickets will really give you the feeling that how well he bowled. Tim Southee, 11 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 21. Another picture of economy there. Mark Craig, the spinner, very impressive, 17 overs, 3 maidens, 66 runs and 2 wickets. Even though he's Sodhi, if you look at his bowling figures, doesn't really reflect everything. But let me tell you, I thought he bowled superbly to the Pakistani batsmen. 21 overs, 5 maidens, 63 runs and no wicket to the right arm leg spinner. 3 overs, 1 maiden, none for 4 for Anderson. Neesham 2 overs, 1 maiden, let's not get into it. Ross Taylor of New Zealand was named man of the match. Now, as I said, the second test match is over. The third test is going to be starting between New Zealand and Pakistan at Sharjah. So 2-0. New Zealand are now still trailing by 1-0. In fact, Pakistan are actually taken. I mean, they are still leading the test series 1-0 with the third test match, as I said, to come up in Sharjah. So, but definitely, I said this was a wonderful match that we had in Dubai, and really, I thought it was value for money for all the spectators there at the Dubai International Cricket Ground. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about on this cricket show is the Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe. Now, Bangladesh versus Zimbabwe. Bangladesh, for one thing, they would be very happy. They actually won the first one-day of the series against Zimbabwe very comfortably by 87 runs. And the reason that Bangladesh, the fans would be pretty happy about it, I'm told that Bangladesh, if you go at statistics, Bangladesh have had a very poor run as far as one-day internationals are concerned. In fact, they have lost 13 one-day internationals, and it has really taken them 13 one-day internationals, and they had to break the hoodoo, and they finally did break the hoodoo by winning the match by 87 runs to thus take a 1-0 lead in the one-day series against Zimbabwe. And one thing that Bangladesh would be happy now, as with the World Cup 2015 coming up, at least Bangladesh will feel confident that they are slowly, at least they got their first win after 13 matches, would give them a lot of confidence going into the second one-day which you are talking about. As you know, the second one-day, well, you'll be seeing me doing a report on that when Bangladesh would be taking on Zimbabwe at Chittagong on 23rd of November, that is tomorrow. So I'll be there with the match report on that, as you know, and also the South Africa Australia, the match, the fourth one-day international which is coming up. So the fifth one-day international, fifth and final one-day international which is coming up at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Well, looking at this innings, Bangladesh, well, they initially, I thought the Zimbabwean bowlers really bowled tightly and had this Bangladeshi innings in the real spin, as they were really struggling at 70 for 4 in the 20th over. But two war horses for Bangladesh, Shakib Al Hasan and Mushfiqur Rahim, stemmed the tide, and they took on the Zimbabwean bowlers and saw to it that Bangladesh would end up with a good total of 281 for 7. But Shakib Al Hasan, well, after a long time scoring a century, he made 101 of 99 deliveries with 10 fours. Mushfiqur Rahim making 65 of 72 balls with 2 fours and 2 sixes. But there was one man who was making his test debut, the one-day international debut, and he was Sabbir Rahman, who was scored domestically. He has been very good hitter of the ball, and we definitely saw that his hitting prowess was fully demonstrated in the middle by Sabbir Rahman as he clubbed sixes. In fact, he made an unbeaten 44 of 25 balls with 3 fours and an equal number of sixes to take this Bangladesh score to a very good score of 281 for 7 of their 50 overs. Now, the bowling, well, I'm not going to go much into it. Thinesha Panyangra bowled, well, he had 3 for 66, even though he was costly. And let's look at the Zimbabwean innings. Well, the Zimbabwean innings, well, they definitely were no match for the Bangladeshi bowlers, as they really struggled. Their problem has been that the spinners have been the real problem. If you look at it, they lost 8 wickets to the spinners, and they really, I mean, if you look at the Zimbabwe innings, Hamilton Masakadza, the opener, he contributed in a meaningful way by making 42 or 48 deliveries with 7 fours. That was a good knock from him. And then Brendan Taylor was the highest scorer with 54 of 72 balls, 4 fours and 1 6. Other than that, there was nobody who could even reach the 20s. Sikandar Raza was out for 15 to the captain Chigumbura. SF Mai, we know he was making his debut for Zimbabwe, and when he's told that he has some very good hitting capabilities, and that was definitely shown when he clubbed the one big six almost out of the ground when he hit them, and in fact he made 11 runs of 18 balls with one massive six that he hit. So probably he was included for that, and Zimbabwe Zimbabwe feel that he has some very good like big hitting capabilities, and that's the reason he has been included. We definitely saw that he definitely showed some signs of that by clubbing that big six. Other than that, well, I said Zimbabwean innings really floundered. They were not really looking a match to these Bangladeshi bowlers. As I said, they lost all their wickets to the spinners. Spin has been something that I think Zimbabwe have to really work on, because in this series what we have seen is that Zimbabwe have been really struggling against the spinners. And the reason that I'm saying that is reflected in the bowling figures. Look at Shakib Al Hasan, who has been really mesmerizing this Bangladeshi batsman. 10 overs, no maiden, 41 runs and 4 wickets for him. Arafat Sunny, 9.1 overs, 2 maidens, 22 runs and 2 wickets, bowled excellently. And Mahmudullah bowling 10 overs, no maiden, 40 runs and 2 wickets. So 8 wickets have gone to the spinners, and only 2 wickets were taken by Mashrafe Murtaza, the captain, as he picked up some wickets, like he picked up Brendan Taylor and he also picked up Chigumbura's wicket. So Shakib Al Hasan of Bangladesh was named man of the match, and thus ended this particular one-day international. As I said, for Bangladesh, it was all a matter of breaking the hoodoo of not having a win in 13 one-day internationals, and finally in the 14th one-day international, they really warmed the cockles of the Bangladeshi supporters by getting a comfortable win. Well, so keep up the good work, Bangladesh, and Zimbabwe definitely have to learn a lot to play spin and tackle spin with some great skills here. So basically I was just rewinding to all those 3 matches, because as I said I couldn't give a good report. So that's the reason I came in and tried to do the best I can to you, dear friends, subscribers. I hope you all liked it. Well, you will definitely see me. It's time to say good night on this cricket show, on this late night cricket show on Saturday. But definitely you're going to see me giving a report on the 5th and final one-day international of this dead rubber between Australia and South Africa, which is going to be played at Sydney Cricket Ground. And also we are looking at the second one-day international between Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, and looking at whether Zimbabwe can really give something back to Bangladesh in the second one-day international. Have they learned their lessons? Well, dear fans, subscribers, I don't have anything else to share as far as this cricket happening show is concerned, but your support has been tremendous. Keep giving that support, and your host Ram is always there with you to entertain you on this cricket happening show. So that's it from me, your host Ram, for today, and it's a big good night from your host Ram. Thank you.